Tell me something, will you pay nearly 200,000 dirhams for a car like this? What I'm going to talk about today is the Voyah Free. It costs 195,000 dirhams or roughly about 53,000 US dollars. But because this is the previous year model, you can have it for 165,000 dirhams right now or roughly about 45,000 US dollars. Now, if you're also thinking that it's a bit too steep, then I'm with you. But for the money you're paying, you get a very premium yet funky interior as well as a very spacious cabin. But most importantly, I think it justifies its price tag, or you would justify its price tag when you hear that this car can go beyond 1,300 kilometers without having to be recharged even once. Well, first things first, if you look at this car and you're reminded of the first ever made in the Emirate car, the Rabdan one, then you're not wrong at all, because there is a very good reason for that. The Voyah Free and the Rabdan one are essentially the same car. Everything from the styling, which Voyah calls as yacht-inspired, right down to the dimensions are exactly the same. The only difference is that the Voyah is manufactured in China and not assembled here in the UAE. The visuals don't do justice to this car. On paper, the Voyah Free sits in the same mid-size SUV category as the BMW X5 or the Mercedes GLE. As far as direct Chinese rivals go, the closest rival to the Free is a XPENG G9, which was also a car that we reviewed. You can click the top right-hand corner to watch it. But what makes it work visually is that it doesn't feel its size. The low nose, the angular body lines, and the chisel surfacing gives it a muscular, planted stance rather than a bulky one. The full-width LED TRLs, the illuminated logo, and the welcome and goodbye animation adds a sense of occasion every time you approach it. A couple of points I want to mention about the exterior is that it has flush-fitting door handles and 20-inch wheels that run on run-flat Pirelli tires paired to red-painted brake calipers, which as a whole completes the sporty charm it carries. What's more interesting here is the EV badge on the sides, because under the hood is a 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol engine. But more on that later. And even on the inside, the Voyah Free identifies itself as an EV. The overall design is very minimalistic, but at the same time, it's quite premium. You can option the interior with either light grey or black colors, but either one of them will cocoon you with Alcantara and vegan leather upholstery that's paired to a cloth-like finish for the headliner. As you move on to the dashboard, you're treated to a triple screen setup, where a front passenger can stay entertained by playing videos or movies. But due to regional regulations, you're limited to watching them via a USB drive. As you move over to the main infotainment system, you have all the basic connectivity features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and pretty much all the basic functions of the car can be controlled from here. But essential controls like air conditioning can be accessed from these physical buttons that are positioned right below the infotainment system. There are a lot of interesting features within the infotainment system, but I'll get to that in a moment. What I want to talk about right now is a very cool feature, which happens when you change the drive modes into performance. Can you see that? The whole dashboard retracts. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Now here's another feature that I think is really cool. You have an island that acts as a wireless charger. Now at first glance, you might think that they are dual wireless chargers, but they're not. Only one of them does the function. But those are all features that you can find on the surface level. Now when you dig deep, you can find a little bit more details, such as this, the nap mode. And then you have 3 different fragrances to choose from. And not just that, you have 2 different cameras, one of which monitors the rear passengers. So if you have children, you can see what they're doing from the camera up here. And then the camera at the front monitors you, the driver. So if it detects that you're feeling tired or you're distracted, it warns you. Here's a full list of all the major features the Voyah Free is offered with. Before I go further into the clever stuff, let's cover the basics that actually matter on a daily basis. Rear legroom is genuinely impressive. A 6-footer will be able to sit comfortably behind another without any knee grazing. And the panoramic sunroof gives the cabin a nice airy feel. The cup holders at the front and space in the door pockets are big enough for 1.5-liter bottles. At the back, you've got a 506-liter boot, which can also go up to 1,320 liters with the rear seats folded. You can access it either through the button under the rear windscreen wiper, or if your hands are full, you could just wave your foot under the rear bumper and it opens automatically. It is a small thing, but once you get used to it, you wouldn't want a car without it. Alright, so we've established that it's as practical and comfortable as a premium electric car should be. Now let's talk about how it lives up to its name and frees you from range anxiety. So this SUV runs on Reef technology, meaning it's got two electric motors at either ends of the car to power the wheels, and the 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol engine that lives under the hood acts as a generator. It charges up the battery. Now, if you combine the 43 kWh battery pack and the 56-liter fuel tank, and you're looking at a claimed range of 1,357 kilometers. Those are all the claim numbers. In real life, I was able to see about 200 kilometers with a 100% charge on the battery and about 800 kilometers with a full tank. So in the real world, considering the heat, you're looking at somewhere about 1,000 kilometers, depending on how you drive it. So Voyah claims that the batteries can be charged up from 0 to 100% in 6.5 hours with an AC charger and in about 15 minutes with a DC fast charger. Now, in my testing, I was able to charge the battery from 13% to 85% in about an hour and 15 minutes with a 50 kilowatt wall charger, which is not bad. It's just enough time for a quick shopping trip. So that is range anxiety eradicated. Now let's talk about what an enthusiast like me would experience when they're behind the wheel of the Voyah Free. Firstly, it is extremely quiet. And thanks to the double glazed windows, there is very little noise from outside coming into the cabin. Then there are the power figures. Voyah claims that if you combine the power from the electric motor and the petrol engine, you can get a maximum power output of 482 horsepower, roughly, and 720 Newton meters of torque. And they also claim that the Free can sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.5 seconds. And from our testing, the quickest we could do was 6 seconds, which is a tad bit far off, but not bad at all, considering that it weighs 2 tons or over 2 tons. Now, in the real world, what that means is that quick overtakes are effortless. And it's also very useful when you're dashing for that last free charging point in a public charging station. So overall, as an enthusiast, it is quite fun. Now, when it comes to ride quality, when you're just cruising along on the highway, it is exceptionally smooth. And you have all the digital assistant features to ensure that you have a very safe and relaxed drive. So all you have to do is just lay your head back onto the pillows and enjoy the drive. And thanks to adjustable air suspension, it is capable of soaking up a lot of rough roads. But every now and then, when you approach very rough or harsh bumps, the suspension tends to be a little stiff. But it's not worth complaining about. In fact, I would go so far as to say that it's far better than some of the German performance SUVs, which in a way is what this car is competing against. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, isn't it? See, to get such levels of comfort and all these features at a price point under 200,000 dirhams was almost unimaginable a few years ago. But now we are at a point where we are kind of spoiled for choice. So from everything I've learned from being behind the wheel of the Voyah, I've concluded that it is truly a delightful car to live with, especially if it's a family car. Well, that was my opinion of the Voyah Free. I hope you liked the video. If you did, do let us know your thoughts on the comment section, and do follow AutoDrive not just on YouTube but on all our social media pages so you can stay up to date with all our latest content. Until we see you next time, this is Philip signing off. You've been watching AutoDrive powered by Self Drive.